All right. So, as I mentioned, Tiffany Burr has been doing our video for quite some time, and we are proud to have published Tiffany's first book. It's called Meet Me Where I Left You. That was put out by the press that Tony and I have together called Printed Matter Vancouver, and she's doing some readings coming up to promote that book, and the next one is on February 23 at another Read Through Books, which is a great bookstore in Portland. So let's please welcome, so that she can go back there and make you all look good, to start us off, Tiffany Burr.
Thank you. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, my voice is kind of coming and going. So, all these poems that I'm going to read tonight have to do with healing through music and healing through poetry. So I've written a poem called Music Heals about an experience with my dad and my brother. So that's the first poem, Music Heals. I've heard music can heal, so powerful it changed 30 years of pain in one night. I watched my dad and my brother dance side by side on a wooden stage, faces smiling. They sing a Jamaica farewell. I hear Dad express his dream to be on stage with his youngest son. After all the missed concerts, football games, letdowns, those disappointments float like bubbles up from the ground, one by one, where they burst open and vanish. I got it.
You got it?
Kinda. It just feels weird, like it just feels wrong.
Sounds good.
Sorry, I was totally inappropriate with the mic. Sorry, Dad. This poem actually, my dad, I sent him this, the book that this poem was published in, and my dad is not a poet. He's never really written any poems, but he wrote me this one. It's called A Tear and a Smile. A father sits in his recliner and watches CNN broadcasting the world's chaos for another morning. A package arrives from his daughter Tiffany, a Christmas wish in a book of poems. She has written yet another poem that has been published. He has trouble holding back the tears as his heart fills with pride as to the wonderful woman she has become. He is taken back to the night when one of his dreams to sing with his son Tyler on stage was fulfilled. A smile comes across his face as the memory of the night becomes vivid. It took him most of a lifetime for her father to grow up. He is glad that time and music has helped to heal the failures and disappointment that a father often imposes upon his children as he is trying to find his way. So, as poets do, we mostly respond in poems. So I had a lot of respect for my dad for acknowledging what he saw as his failures. So this is my poem back to him called The Beauty in Failures. After another long day of the 7 to 4 grind and feeling like the world continues to beat me down, I arrive home to a letter from my dad. It's a poem he has written for me. His poem speaks of pride over my recent poem being published. He writes of memories of singing with Tyler. Vivid are these moments as smiles absorb tears. He speaks of his shortfalls as a father and what's taken him his whole life to find his way. To you, my father, I say this. Time and age has softened those disappointments. Failures no longer matter. Forgiveness and understanding are what remain. Love is what matters, and I love you. For your love of football, for singing with us in the car, for boat trips and appreciation of the ocean, for Harry Belafonte, Elvis, and the Beatles. For summers at your house in Redmond, for seafood any kind we wanted, for badminton tournaments and hot tub soaks beneath the summer's moon. For your work ethic and your passion, for your love of my dimples, for inspiring my poem about rugby. My anger was never really about you, Dad. Children cannot make sense of adult choices. I could not understand why you had to leave. I have clarity now as age and life have taught me. We all do the best we can with what we are given. Your father was not kind, but you are. Your father did not express pride, but you do. I have taken from you and Mom what I wanted as a child, magnified it 100 times for my children, yet they still see my failures, yet I still disappoint. All parents impose this on their children. I am no different as I continue to find my way. Your imposition and failures give the world kind people, loving, compassionate human beings, poets, teachers, and musicians. How can anyone equate that to failure? This is my last poem. It's called Prince in a Cream-Colored Civic. We're 12, my cousin and me, just 6 months apart in 1984. A family visit lands us in the Civic. Grandpa's driving. Victory at sea on the tape deck. As much as we love him, his music isn't our 12-year-old taste. To our surprise, he pushes eject, asks for the cassette my cousin is holding, turns up the volume for those first words. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. We look at each other in shock. He keeps increasing the volume as we dance in the back seat, sing at the top of our lungs, and laugh when people pull up to stoplights, or they stare. We hear side 1 before the restaurant. On the way home, we listen to side 2. Just as we pull into the driveway, Purple Rain comes on, and Grandpa leaves the car running until the last chord plays. He passed away in 1997, yet we hold on to this memory, and every time we hear Purple Rain, we're 12 again in the back seat of the Civic with Grandpa at the wheel.
Thank you, Tiffany. I love that. I really, really love the idea of a parent getting, or a family member, could be your child, getting your book of poems and sitting there with it and thinking, wow, this is someone I love that did this thing, and then having the courage to write back and record a poem. So that's beautiful. I'm Toni Partington. I co-host this event with the Christopher Luna. Yes. When we start bowing down, then we'll know that
Your work is done.
my work is done. I'm really excited. You have the list, which I'm going to need here. Thank you. Before I call up the next reader, I'd like to read a poem that I wrote thinking that I was on time to submit something to the New York Times call for poetry. And after I finished the poem and I was so excited, I said to Christopher, I'm so excited I got my poem. And he said, oh honey, that ended whenever. So I'd like to read it to all of you in honor of the show Inauguration Angst. This is called The Day After. And it starts with an epigram. There's no place to run when your country's door locks behind you. Almost 3 million liberated threads rising in the steam of plurality of voices. Their words more than ornaments in this unlikely season of pretentious celebration. There's a lingering scent of burnt moon in morning, the outcome foretelling. People thirsty for rebellion learn to sense danger after awe quiets perception. Gritty teeth taste sour bile, swallow the impulse to hide under the kitchen table. His huge mouth spits sand that gets into everything. A good night's sleep is elusive. I want to wake from fitful dreams in a place where popular vote counts for something better than this. We are going to hear, did I hear you announce Scott Yeager's?
I did,
Okay. So I want to announce it too. Our sound guy. I'm so proud. Scott, your turn to read. Come on up.
Jesus, I'm blushing. This is,
I guess you can adjust the mic for yourself, right?
we'll see.
Sort of.
We'll see. Hey there, beautiful ghost town poets and poetry lovers and whomever else may have happened to wander in. Soon to be poetry lovers. We need to talk about something. Compose myself like scattered words distilled into verse and rehearse like it'll change. Anything to ease and shoot to appease the chemical wants begging please. And I'm solid like Martian mud, deflect anything but that which creeps to my core. Compose myself with a putty knife, filling in the push pin holes in my soul like it'll stop the efflux that owns me and disowns these moments. So I'm sealed like a multi-million-dollar deal. Think it's time for handshakes and cigars. Compose myself like a space-age alloy, deployed in the void of the line that divides us into those we love and those not so great. And I'm safe like a disaster-proof combination locked metal box with the code forgot. Compose myself like a score in a 5th grade soccer game, directed like a pro, feeling like it mattered more than just about anything just then. So I'm ready like my masterpiece, never quite ready to leave my room and face it. Compose myself so I can break down, make out, make up something I have to say to you. Big day tomorrow. Stress is exhilarating, enabling, exhausting. Had a fat spliff to put me to bed, but I sit here writing instead. Can't fucking help it, I say. I'm a poet. After failing to stay away, maybe we're the lower life forms in the capitalized alphabetic order. So jump the wall at the border between phonemes, lingual building blocks, and mortar. Like these lines conjoined on this stage. It must be a curse, for no plague ever infected so ineffectively. Will you please just write a rhyme or two too and catch the disease? Or at least stop telling me it's easy to quit. It's easy to quit. I lost my place, excuse me. As the clock ticks on into darkness, screw this feeling that I'm meant to be otherwise occupied. In all fairness to myself, isn't this a hell of a lot healthier than keeping it all in the unseen dreams of the demons and fairies dancing around my corpus? Finally, this one's called, Isn't It Poetry? Oh yeah, I have a theme tonight, and the theme's a mystery, and if anyone can guess it later, you get a special prize. It's also a mystery. A poem is what emerges from an uncertain pen. It says, we may not know the way, so let us dance like our tongues. A poem is a crystalline structure, bending, refracting, and yet ready to shatter without noticing how deeply enamored we were. A poem is a bridge held up by the ears of those who hear it and the eyes who see its power on the page. A poem is a prayer, a to-do list, an apology, a manifesto, a shot in the dark, a roast, a toast, an ecstatic declaration. A poem is what happens when the grammar Nazis go to sleep. The control freaks surrender. The control freaks surrender to the beat, and words dance like they've got feet. A poem is a tiny morsel, a feast unfit for kings and queens containing multitudes. Of promise, disappointment, starvation, and careful punctuation. A poem is a song for we lonely people, an uninstrumented ballad or sonnet or postmodern bout of silence, screaming in whispers. A poem is a way to wrap up what I want to say in layers of ambiguity when too afraid to come right out with, hey, I think you're really great. How about we choose a date to complicate matters in a manner I wish didn't matter so much, at least in my own gray matter. A poem is some shit we made up while waiting for something less poetic to happen, but it just never did. A poem is what you can't stop saying when you take the right amount of drugs, with the right people, in the right place, at the right time, when the only thing that isn't right is what remains unwritten. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Scott. Well, next we're going to hear from Jenny Power. Jenny, come on up.
I quit poetry.
So I had a cat. And no, it's one of those poems. I really, it's like when you're single and you're busy, you adopt animals because they're not as much work as children, but they become like your children. And a few years ago, I had no time. I couldn't even come here to have people like share this experience with me, and I really could have used you. So I wrote a poem after she died, like the day after she died, or the day she died. So it's called Cat. It wasn't a maudlin love affair. I didn't spend my evenings cooing love songs to you or documenting your mostly sedentary life through countless snapshots. I did not create darling refrigerator montages of your image or even one seasonal Christmas card. In the last few years, I fed you when you stood next to your bowl, petted you infrequently, and cursed you away from the front door. I avoided your green gold stare and your silence, the quiet way you waited for some sign from me that you could approach and receive a small token of love. There are many days where I felt troubled by your life, by its sameness and its solitude. I would see you gaze up in wonder at some hazy shaft of light, or turn your head abruptly at the beat of some bird's wing, and I would feel guilty and then defensive, holding up my busy life and my own frustration as a shield against your longing. The tumor may have been growing for months in your stomach. By the time I caught it, your organs were being pushed to the side and you were vomiting blood and mucus. You couldn't eat and I wouldn't force you. Instead, I warmed soft food for you in the microwave and placed it on the floor in front of you. I sat cross-legged on the floor and pushed the dog away so he wouldn't starve you. I was trying to make amends. I thought perhaps you would last a little longer, but yesterday you cried, very low. And when I went to pick you up, your body was a limp scarf. I could have twisted you in my hands. You were still so beautiful, and the technicians at the clinic couldn't stop praising you, and I couldn't keep myself from being proud, as if I had anything to do at all with the way you could still make people marvel. I wanted to give you a few more hours of grace. I took you home, watched over you as you drank water from a puddle in our yard, let you sleep beneath the Adirondack chair one last time, held you in my arms, and told you that you would be reborn as a woman. Yeah, maybe I should have ended there. Thank you. When I went back to the clinic, they weren't ready for me. So we sat in the grass and the sun warmed you, and I was happy for you. When they gave you the sedative, I placed my hands beneath your head, poured my heart into my mouth of my mind for as long as I could. When they injected you the last time, your eyes grew big. It was so fast, I didn't sense your passing. It still feels as if you are here. She's a good cat. She's all right. So I'm a teacher, and I really wanted to write a poem about Betsy DeVos, but because I'm a teacher, I'm busy, so that will come later. But right now, I have a poem I want to share to you because I'm pretty horrified, as you all are, I'm sure, about what's happening, especially with the environment. And I wrote this poem the first time I heard about Fukushima. You guys have heard about that, right? The reactor. And I just heard again recently that it's now got like record levels, radiation levels. And so I pulled this out. I'm going to share it with you. In Fukushima, a lake of radioactive water is leaking into the ocean. I am in Washington, and the thought of Fukushima makes me despair. So I turn on my laptop and warm myself in front of the electric campfire that is Facebook, and type cheerful sound bites to friends who are as lonely as I am. Across the river in Portland, 2 sinkholes appeared overnight. One swallowed a woman's dog, and she went in after it. The other swallowed a schoolteacher's new car. The woman and her dog were rescued, but the car has been pronounced dead. We fear it is a portent of things to come, and mourn its loss more than we mourn the waters of Fukushima. In my city of Vancouver, Tesoro wants to build an oil terminal on my river. They are rich and promise to make my city richer. Someone will make millions of dollars, but I will never see it. It will go into the pocket of an anonymous CEO, while black trains will roll through my city in record numbers, so Tesoro ships can carry highly combustible oil from my city to Asia, perhaps to Fukushima. In Bobtown, Pennsylvania, an explosion at a natural gas well has killed a man, so Chevron workers have been handing out coupons for free pizza door to door. The residents of Bobtown are grateful they have not yet died from explosions caused by fracking and will be sure to use the coupon before it expires on the 1st of May. They are sad there is no free pizza for people who live near Fukushima. In my classroom, I try to get my students to understand the impact a proposed coal train terminal in Longview could have on their long-term health and safety. But they are too busy contending with the trials of being a teenager to care. They send covert messages through their cell phones instead, while I watch as pieces of their future dart past them like cesium-contaminated fish, the kind they can catch but never eat in the waters off Fukushima.
And now welcome back to Ghost Town Poetry Open Mic, Bob Sunshine.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, if it was written yesterday, the first verse. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I download weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten porn, while I nodded, nearly coming, suddenly there came a humming as of someone gently grinding at my chamber door. "'Tis some vibrator," I muttered, grinding at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. That's my warm-up. Organ grinder, amateur. Peter Principle, prefer. Hystericals, second wind. Backstabber behind, thin-skinned. Benediction, Sunday's chore, stood in line, confession door, Bible lesson, sparkling wine, ornamental father's shrine, welded wish, man-made madness, arms above head nonetheless, came to be in loaded dream, three-dimensional inseam. Only one fell from the wall. Men and horses overhaul. King upset, Queen Humpty lit. Hair found in Eggs Benedict. Three wise men outside manger followed wrong star, game changer. Two of them not smart at all, brought along for protocol. Picture this bod, little lamb, placed on stone by Abraham, landscape littered, signs gutted, beware of God, cold-blooded, battle cry way up that hill, volumes written, Jack and Jill, disappeared after a look-see, broken crown found in debris. Now I'm going to do something here real quick, so bear with me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, N, L, K, J, I, H, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Sounds different backwards. So the 7 poems I read to you, I'm going to read last line first. See if you can remember any of it. Backstabber behind thin-skinned, hysterical second wind, Peter Principal prefer organ grinder amateur, ornamental father shrine, Bible lesson, sparkling wine, stood in line, confession door, benediction, Sunday's chore. Three-dimensional inseam came to be in loaded dream, arms behind head nonetheless, welded wish, man-made madness. Let's see if this is still funny. Hair found in eggs Benedict, king upset, queen Humpty licked, men and horses overhaul, only one fell from the wall. Brought along for protocol, 2 of them not smart at all. Followed wrong star, game changer, 3 wise men outside manger. Beware of God, cold-blooded, landscape littered, signs gutted, placed on stone by Abraham. Picture this, bod little lamb. Broken crown found in debris, disappeared after look-see, volumes written, Jack and Jill, battle cry way up that hill. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Bob. Next, say hello to Edie. Welcome Edie back.
I'm reading some stuff that I've read here before, but I think that in this political climate, it's more than appropriate. And honestly, after hearing I don't know, just to put it bluntly, hearing Elizabeth Warren basically being silenced, I think it's appropriate for me to read these as often as I possibly can. And also, since I know this is being videotaped, I want to say hello to my sister in Mississippi. I love you. You're way more badass than you think you are.
Yeah.
Her name is Lisa, by the way.
How do you say?
We all love you. Smile, smile. Put a smile on that face. Don't shout, don't cough, and don't sniff. Don't show weakness. Don't be too strong. Be warm and likable. Hide your smarts like we've all hidden our smarts since middle school. Be seen, not heard. Be interrupted. Mind your temperament. Don't fact check. And smile, smile. Put a smile on that face. That's the first one. Big Brother laces the Soylent Green with Soma, and we can't get enough of this shit. Overdose on it. And while we worship and judge celebrities' asses, like and tweet and share with adolescent delight the latest about Brangelina's divorce, it's all divide and conquer. Thin versus fat, young versus old, Pinterest purgatory versus glass ceiling, breeder versus barren, did she or didn't she, is she or isn't she? And while we fight and accuse like the vipers we've been compared with since the beginning of time, we are still making less, being interrupted, being warned, being passed over, asking permission for medication, dying in pools of blood on hospital floors, held responsible for everything, credited for nothing. Nevertheless, we will persist. And And last but not least, Tiffany's favorite. Beaver, box, slit. She has a fucking name, you know. Bearded clam, fish taco, peach. Good enough to eat, not good enough to name. Poontang, cooch, cooter, backwoods names. Muff, minge, snatch, thanks Rue for bringing back the cute. Still can't say it. Also, thanks to the woman who thinks twat means ass because she's a fucking twat. Vag, the JJ hoo-ha, almost there, Oprah. Pussy equals weakness, cunt is too strong, all unpleasant, all unclean, all too foul for polite company, all too much for the old white men in power, all to be touched, licked, eaten, rammed, fucked by men with or without permission, all to be regulated, all without ever naming it, the source of my power, vagina.
Vagina is always welcome. First time poetry of the night, I just wanted to make it official.
Oh, that's great.
Desiree, come on down.
Just don't touch.
You can even move it to the side if you don't like.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to be back. The first poem that I'd like to share tonight was written by a woman, Kishwar Naheed. She is the first feminist in Pakistan. And I met her back in 2003 at the U of O with a small group of women, and we were lucky enough to hear her share her poetry with us. And it just struck me. I've been thinking about her a lot since January, and this poem just seemed right. The Bond of Fidelity. When my black hair turned gray, the rocks in my country wore yellow. My country, where the smell of gunpowder is quicker than love. Nothing will be left here. Nothing will be left here for my children. Madness spreads faster than nails growing. A madness of money, war, and hatred. They have finished winding up the watch. The satellite booms like a battle drum. But we have covered our open eyes. We constantly hear what we do not wish to hear. We constantly say what we do not want to say. I'm afraid that a time may come when we have nothing to lose, not even words. I have nothing with which to oppose, nothing but words. The next two are from, I've been reworking them, kind of like Edie, it just feels right. I've just been stewing and stewing because they're political. And it's two pieces that I read for the political poetry at the gallery. American landscape. He uses words like generation, rights, this land is ours. He thinks that standing up for your beliefs is a man's job. He doesn't care how you do it, like John Wayne or Wyatt Earp. Just hold your ground. Unless you're a woman, then be quiet, stay home. Unless you're black, then stay unarmed, don't resist. Unless you're native, then it's an old song and dance. His granddaddy provided, his father provided, he should be able to provide. The dirt under his nails frames his heart, his work is honest, his gun is clean. He has rights too. Early morning coffee warms his cracked, hard-working hands. Poster board and marker on the hood of his truck. He is the first to arrive on the jailhouse steps. She uses her mother's words to whisper to the man about dirty ways of stealing bodies, raping earth, ejecting filth on turtles' back, and burning down the sky. She spits when they say she has it good. She spits when they say she shouldn't want more. She spits when they yell, "Your people gave up the land years ago." They cuff her wrist, haul her to the back seat, her boot heels drag in lines. She watches them pin her sister face down in dirt, arms pressed back, the way you hold wings to keep a bird from flying. Salmon pit smoke still in her nose, lungs filled with fire, she sings her mother's song. She squints to watch the splintered fence and little dog Cody fade to nothing in the rearview mirror of the flashing black and white. The mob tightens on the jailhouse steps. Rancher man in front holds a sign high with one calloused hand, "Justice," written in red. Battle cry. Power off your technology, get out of the chair, stand up. Because water is life, not a commodity. Because a treaty is a binding contract. Because national parks are not for sale. Because climate change is real. Because the earth is dying. Because Monsanto is eating you from the inside out. Stand up. Because Leonard Peltier should be free. Because Homa Hotfar. Because Berta Caceres, Lima Chalk, Nelson Garcia, Mendez Barrio, Isidro Beltranegro Lopez. Because Black lives matter. Because Latino lives matter. Because Native lives matter. Stand up. Because West Papua, Rwanda, Guatemala, Syria, Sudan, and the DRC. Because border patrols rape women to stop immigration. Because forced sterilization. Because boarding schools the 60s scoop Hawaiian homelands. Because being unarmed doesn't stop bullets. Because racism is systemic. Stand up. Because Planned Parenthood. Because the Highway of Tears. Because violence against women is more than a 1 in 4 statistic. Because being unconscious is not permission. Because you can't just grab women by the pussy. Stand up. Because he is fascist. Because the world is watching. Because class is really caste without religion. Because education is how we change our fate. Because healthcare is not optional. Because the VA is the problem, not the answer. Because prison is corporate, not corrective. Stand up. Because it doesn't matter who's pissing in the stall next to you. Because someone is sleeping on a bench under bags on Mill Plain. Because mental health is still an embarrassing child. Because we sit in our homes and we feel paralyzed to do anything when we can do everything. Because our voices need to be heard. Because at the end of each day, we stand up and fight or fade away in silence. Stand up.
Thank you, Desiree. And now let's welcome Lynetta Johnston-Meeker. Come up, Lynetta.
Hi. I'm feeling so many emotions after the poetry we just heard. I've wrestled with the results of the election and the inauguration itself and the day since then. And this isn't a poem, but I want to stand with all of you who have spoken regarding our current situation as Americans, and say that I think of all the abominations and desecrations and violations of the law that have occurred since this president was inaugurated. And I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone, I don't mean to do that, this is my personal conviction. But the one that struck me with the most violence and terror was the fact that a few days after his own inauguration, the current president declared the day of his inauguration, not just Inauguration Day, but the day of his inauguration as the day of national patriotism. And the image that arose in my mind when I heard that was an image of Chairman Mao posters in China and images of Kim Il-jung in North Korea, and all of those bodies bowing every morning in homage to, or homage to, the great leader. Please God, don't let there come a day in this country when that is the price of survival. Now this is what I was going to read. And just by the way, on Wednesday, February 15th, I will be very gratefully the featured reader at Paper Tiger on Grand. And this is just one of the poems that I have planned to read there, but I wanted to give you a little sample. And then I'm going to read a couple of short ones and let things move on. This one is called The Naked Truth. Masks can be hard to see sometimes, more difficult to see through. They aren't easy to discard, and yet impossible, perhaps, to live without. I'm still not sure what masks I wear, or what is under them. I only know I can't remove them all myself, and so I don't touch yours, as much as I would like to see your open face. I am quite sure the barriers are there, you know, because I've noticed them between us. And here are a few that you probably heard before. This one is called Going Once. What am I bid for this treasured moment? Brief, delicate, rare, preserved in God's-winged webs of memory and desire, perfected by time's passing, as a fine wine ripens and mellows with age. Oh, never mind your offers. Such days are not for sale, beyond a token price, of course. The cost of letting go. And this one is called, not politically speaking, personally speaking, The Refugee. I remember having a home. The low roof hugged stout walls. Little square windows sat regularly around it, watching the world with an impassive stare. I can still see the Dutch door just barely ajar. I can imagine straightening my arm now, as if it would swing half open again at my touch. And finally, a hike at sunset. The days are getting shorter. Summer has passed. The icy stream chases itself tirelessly over algae-covered rocks. Trees cast dappled shadows, obscuring lines and angles. If we look now, we can just catch a glimpse of the reddening sun sparkling on the water at the day's end.